Yeah, and for Uno Radre, he's always been fast on a 300. It's been really impressive to see how he's adapted to a 600 this year on the Yamaha Orsa to snag a top 10 finish in this, and it's going to be a big challenge for him to be able to go with those riders in front of him, though.
Earlier on here this morning, Hanosuma completes the 4th row of the grid from 12th place. Back-to-back top 10 finishes for him for the first time since Estoril. Of course, he did miss 3 rounds too, but even so, more than a 5th of his 2021 points total. So ultimately, he actually did pretty well just to claim 9th.
Yeah, he was the only rider out there with that harder front tyre yesterday. Came really good in the middle stage.
On the grid, his worst since Aragon 2017, but he put in a great recovery ride to 4th, not enough to keep his run of consecutive final 5 laps to Federico Caricasulo. He was only half a second behind him so far,
and he'll want to finish the season off on a high. It's been an up and down season for Cluzel, but the last third of the season very impressive and strong with those Argentina.
Alongside Jules Cluzel on the 5th row of the grid, Christopher here for the first time in the Supersport World Championship yesterday. Danny Valle 3 race marathon reaches its conclusion. Race 2 of the first ever Pirelli Indonesian round, and only the team's award yet to be settled. Dominic Egerter looking to get Tenkate over the line. Kawasaki Pacetti, their closest challengers. 11 different podium finishers, 6 different winners in 2021, including Rafael de Rosa, first-time victor yesterday. An open and unpredictable campaign, and hopefully a fitting finale coming up. Just seeing notification along the bottom of your screen that Christopher Burns, his pelvis, quite severe injury he sustained in the Endurance World Championship earlier on this season. And then race 2, nothing riding on it as far as the Riders' Championship is concerned. Tenkate with a team's award to get over the line, though, here today.
Strong in the last couple of years once again. It was Stephen Odendahl with them last year. Odendahl, their chief championship rival this year, but Dominic Egerter.
Well, the only snag for Tenkate is that their second rider hasn't been much backup. Galang Hendra Pertama that have been promising, but not big points totals compared to the likes of Egerter. Stephen Odendahl's pace and points have dropped off in equal measure as Sebastian's sort of made up the difference. And then for Pacetti,
94 with Jules Cluzel and a host of teammates for him. It's been a tough season for them to have consistency seen in recent years. Dominic Egerter might have wrapped up the championship last time out in Argentina, but
Cluzel has been the man in form of late. Race 2 of the 2021 Pirelli Indonesian round gets underway. Flying start that from Chan On-Chu. Fires himself straight up into 5th position. He's going to be on the outside line of the run down to turn 1. Odd smattering of rain as we get underway with lap number 1. Sound familiar? On-Chu around the outside of De Rosa. Dominic Egerter going backwards. Egerter down to 5th position.
Yeah, we saw Randy Krubenacker run very wide there as well through turn 3 for Chan On-Chu on Federico Caricasulo.
Here comes Chan On-Chu already thinking about a manoeuvre. Turn 7, not a conventional overtake, even overtaking opportunities in the Supersport class here yesterday, and On-Chu makes it his own. Chan On-Chu on a day of celebration for Turkeys to the inside as they come down the short squirt towards turn 11 and consolidates that lead. Race winner here, pressure from Manuel Gonzalez from behind, and Dominic Egerter. We know he will come on stronger as this race goes on.
Yeah, quick start from Jules Cluzel as well from 5th row of the grid. He's up into the top 8 now. Yesterday, he's in a position now. He's already through in Peter Sebastian, looks like.
Manuel Gonzalez through on Rafael de Rosa as well. So Gonzalez up into become good as races have gone on, and he will be hoping that that is again the case here today. Peter Sebastian, quick mention for him, started in 10th position on the spin. Peter Sebastian, the more positions of course Cluzel gains, the harder it is for him to make further progress. He's got the likes of Stephen Odendahl down in 9th position, but up at the head of the field. On-Chu 4/10 now clear of Federico Caricasulo, having fired himself straight through from 8th. Oh, big incident there for Manuel Gonzalez, and it is the number 81 bike stranded in the gravel trap, and that is not a good way at all for Manuel Gonzalez to say goodbye to 2 years. And unfortunately Gonzalez looks initially to be in some discomfort.
Yeah, it looks like it could be his race there. We saw it on a few camera spots, and just keep an eye at the back end of this shot. You can see
tries to get it stopped into turn 1. He almost went up the back there of Chan On-Chu, under braking at the end of the 507 metre straight. Then Thule could be set to pass the pair of them. Half a second faster than Caricasulo last time around. Caricasulo will again be close, I suspect, in towards turn. On-Chu out in front. He tumbled backwards through the order after a strong start here yesterday. Wants to defend top spot this time around. Caricasulo ducks out, coming on the apex. That was perfectly executed from Federico Caricasulo, wide behind Nicky Thule from 3rd position for seconds.
Yeah, that's why it was so important for Carica to make that move. You can see how hard he's pushing a big slide there through turn 13, but further than the race leaders.
Federico Caricasulo, 3rd places in each of his last 2 appearances.
On-Chu, and we'll see if he's able to get close enough enough this time around. Last time around, he did have a big slide at the same point as Caracasulo, trying to move into second spot.
Tooley did appear to be a bit of a win it or bin it rider in the early stage of this season, just acclimatising to the MV. A little bit offline there as they make their way through turn 10. De Rosa not quite close enough to capitalise, but the number 66, really since the Catalunya round, has come to the fore. He was third races with misfortune, but he's back up in podium contention here. Caracasulo in front, Onchu second, Tooley third, De Rosa fourth, Egerter fifth. Do not take your eye.
The end of this group as well. Onchu, is he close enough to make that move? Nicky Tooley is.
They're three abreast going around turns 15 and 16. Onchu's on the inside. Tooley's gone from third now by Rafael De Rosa as they start lap number 10. De Rosa looking for a move through on the inside into turn 1, and Onchu's going to try and respond on Tooley. Tooley leads
to his brake lever on the previous lap, and then we saw him run in very deep into that long braking zone into turn 15. We'll wait and see if it was just a mistake from Caracasulo or if he's having a bit of an issue there.
But to see them three abreast, Rafael De Rosa, Dominic Egerter and Jules Cluzel. This is the battle further down the order, way further back down the order for 14th position, but we recover the leaders thankfully. Caracasulo, De Rosa and Egerter still throwing their bikes at one another.
Yeah, Dominic Egerter just keeping that watching brief, but look at Jules Cluzel in the background. Last time around he pulled in 1.5 behind the race leader.
That is astonishing pace from Jules Cluzel, 1.3 seconds faster than Federico Caracasulo, who at the moment occupies a podium place. Cluzel this lap around appears to be halted behind De Rosa. Tooley, Onchu, Caracasulo, De Rosa, Egerter, and then a little bit of a gap to Jules Cluzel directly in behind.
The same tyres front and rear. What we've seen all the way through this season is Dominic Egerter in the final third of a race, the final quarter of a race, he does tend to get stronger and stronger. He maintains his pace better than anyone else in the super sport class.
This season, not only of Dominic Egerter, but of course perhaps of strategy from Tenkate. He tended to bide his time. He wasn't too worried, he said, because Dominic Egerter has not had the things all his own way in recent rounds, although he looked to have the pace to unleash late on yesterday, of course, closing again on Rafael De Rosa. Yesterday, though, they were chasing first and second. This time around, they're only fourth and fifth.
Yeah, chasing down Caracasulo, Onchu and the race leader to the front of the field in the early stages of the races, and it has been more and more of a struggle to maintain that tyre life with the Kawasaki. He's doing a bit of a gap. Little mistake there from Nicky, though, on the run through turn 10.
Mentioned previously that Nicky so on. Also mentioned previously that we've had 6 different winners in the Supersport class in 2021. We could be looking at a 7th with Tooley and Onchu currently the top 2, and Caracasulo directly behind as well, of course.
Yeah, it's a while since Nicky Tooley won a race in the Supersport class, but he has had a lot of podiums. He's been able to be a front-running rider at different times. You can see, though, in that group, it's easy to run in a little bit deep. Dominic Egerter a little bit wide on the entry. He was able to get it all collected and get a good exit through.
Faster than Dominic Egerter's fastest time of race 1 as well. Tooley trying to see 2 seconds covering the lead 6, but Cluzel has held station really in 6th position. Caracasulo, De Rosa under pressure from Egerter, and Cluzel rounds out your top 6.
Yeah, personal best laps of the race for all of the top. They're all getting faster and faster.
7.5 to go. Nicky Tooley, could he be looking at a first race victory since 2017? Chan Onchu now under pressure from Federico Caracasulo. Caracasulo is used to seeing the stage of the race, got to the front and then squandered an opportunity to lead, because the reality is Caracasulo's got the same pace as the riders around him.
Yeah, all these riders very similar pace. That's what we've seen this weekend here in Indonesia, is that it's really difficult to find a few tenths of a second. Take your opportunities when they're presented. Jules Cluzel was able to bridge a gap of almost 5.
Rafael De Rosa, he does so at the start of lap 15, through in towards turn 1. Cluzel now with only 3/4 of a second between himself and a race victory.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job. Rafa last time around actually had his personal best lap of the race, so it shows just how good of a job Jules Cluzel's been doing. He was the only rider inside the 1:36.
Earlier on in the race, and that could be an engine. It's certainly a mechanical for Glenn Van Stralen as he makes his way around turn 1.
Yeah, terminal there for Van Stralen.
Yes, Danny Valle making his return to the Supersport World Championship this weekend. It's not been an auspicious return for him. Andres Gonzalez back in the points. And Galang Hendra Pertama now up as far as 14th with Glenn Van Stralen, who was running in 14th position. Looks to be settling this race down, and Cluzel, well, he hasn't made ground up hand over fist so far on this lap as Egerter sends in a move from way back there on Rafael de Rosa. That looks like Stephen Odendaal who's gone down, and Stephen Odendaal thankfully straight back up to his feet, but that compounds a miserable second half of Odendaal's 2021 campaign.
Yeah, this is on the run down into wall through the flip-flops. It was actually through turn 8 that he lost it, and then that bike just carries all the way down. It stopped in that grass on the run down into 10.
Birds moving out of the way for the Ghost Rider riding around. We saw Stephen Odendaal with a bit of a walk on his hands, heading off to where the bike had eventually come to rest. Miserable recent run for Stephen Odendaal, who thankfully for him has already got second position in the World Championship, well and truly set. Spit out Egerter getting through on De Rosa for fourth position, and Chanon. Look how close Cluzel is now. 3.5 to go, and the number 16 is all over the back of his former teammate.
Yeah, for Jules Cluzel, I really like Indonesia. Not the biggest fan of this track. Tell you what, he might be a big fan of it in a couple of laps time.
Four-man coming into this weekend. If we thought that Superpole underperformance, his worst Superpole performance since the start of last season, might hamper him, then Jules Cluzel is trying to prove otherwise. Sits up in third position as things stand, and he's still Chatuli here. There's only 0.3 of a second between the lead trio.
Yeah, and certainly for Cluzel, we've seen on Federico Caricasulo this time around.
Correct myself, Cluzel's worst Superpole performance since Aragon 2017, so even worse, but he's recovering quite nicely through the field. He's up race victory in 2021.
And you can see now for MV, they're going to be worried because Nicky Thuli's under pressure, not just from
the best chance of finding his way through on Nicky Thuli. Tell you who else has got a chance of finding his way through, if he hasn't left it too late again, is Dominic Egerter. Only of a second between the four of them now. De Rosa becoming a little bit tailed off. Race 1 winner down in 5th position. Cluzel alongside Thuli, and finally gets it done for second place. Thuli then relegated from 1st to 3rd. Caricasulo hits the front.
Putting in a bit of a charge. Once again, last time around, he was the fastest rider in that leading group.
Yes, was 0.4 of a second down on Nicky Thuli, is now just a 1/10 of a second behind, and Thuli, who has led the majority of the second half of this race, who was starting to dream perhaps of a first win since 20. On the podium positions here, Egerter cuts through for 3rd position. The fight is for the race lead. Former teammates, of course. Cluzel versus Character to go. This is why Egerter's been confirmed world champion in 2021. He is a dominant force in the Supersport World Championship. Caricasulo will try to make his presence felt as they come back into turn 1. The line, that sweeping chicane complex, and he is going to try and outbrake Jules Cluzel as they come in towards turn 10. Cluzel with a remarkable performance from 13th to lead for once again, and the world champion looks set to put in a world champion's performance on the final lap of the Supersport season here in Indonesia. Jules Cluzel thought about having a go back in 16. We've seen plenty of passes here in Supersport today. Cluzel is back alongside Egerter, rubbing Egerter, through on Egerter. Jules Cluzel hits the front again, has Dominic Egerter, and Caricasulo comes around the outside, and Egerter now tries to bump him off the line, and Cluzel comes through on the pair of them, and Thuli comes past both of them as well, and Jules Cluzel
is going to be annoyed at being pushed out wide there in that last lap, but it was such a hard-fought battle there between those leading 3 riders that it opened the door for Egerter. Leans into Caricasulo. Carica almost crashes, runs out wide, loses momentum. Nicky Thuli's able to come through, pick the pocket of both.
In 13th, the Indonesian, I think, will be happy to have put something on the board in the final race of the campaign. Philip Ertl coming home in 9th position, and Chan On-Chu in 6th for the record on that front. But it was all about the top 4 in that race. I don't think anyone was worrying too much about the team's award by the time we got to that final lap tally for 2021. I'm sure he'll try to get his average back up to 50% or more. And as I said previously, I wasn't joking or kidding. Argentina, a 4th and a 1st this weekend, and that despite a 13th position start on the grid.